Welcome back to California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Wayne Powell. Now, Mr. Powell is the Mayor Pro Tem of Manhattan Beach, also Vice Chair of the Los Angeles County Beach Commission, and he has been thrown into the deep end, literally, over the last few months as a result of an incident on Manhattan Beach. It's kind of ironic. Towards the beginning of the summer, I watched Jaws with my daughters. They had never seen Jaws. Little did I know that Jaws was going to come to life in Manhattan Beach. Talk to us about a recent incident that occurred, and then I want to get into the ramifications of it.
Sure. And Jaws occurred on the 4th of July weekend, as did this
Right.
one. It was July 5th. We had some fishermen on our pier, the Manhattan Beach Pier.
Right.
It was debatable as to whether they were fishing for sharks. But they did catch a shark, and by law you're supposed to release it immediately. That didn't happen. They struggled with the shark for 40 to 45 minutes.
Wow.
The shark was agitated, having a huge hook in its mouth.
And could you actually explain the type of line that this fisherman used, which is what one would need to use if your intended target is a shark?
Sure. It's a very thick tensile steel line, as is the hook, and the hook is huge. And then it was argued whether or not they were baiting or chumming the waters.
And chumming means?
Putting fish parts, bloody fish parts in to attract the sharks. But they hooked the shark. The shark was agitated. At the same time, there was a long-distance swimmer that was training for a peer-to-peer swim.
And there was a group of swimmers, actually.
Yes.
I mean, there's a video floating around where, it's hard to really tell what's going on in the video. But you could see there are swimmers in the area.
Yes. And apparently he either hit the line.
He meaning the swimmer.
The swimmer, the victim. Or when the shark was thrashing to extricate himself, got a hold of the swimmer, took a big bite out of his torso.
Yeah, and let's talk about the swimmer. His name is Steve Robles, 40 years old. He has survived.
Yes.
But tell us what happened to him.
Well, fortunately, it was a juvenile white shark, and it didn't penetrate the rib cage.
Right.
He also had a big gash on his thumb because he grabbed the jaws of the shark to extricate himself, and fortunately, that's what freed him, because the shark was just thrashing away.
Right. And this made national news. I mean, we have screen grabs of the Today Show, of ABC World News Tonight. I mean, everyone was talking about this. So how is it that he survived? Was it the fact that it was a juvenile? Was it the fact that he didn't taste very good? I mean, what happened here?
I think it was because it was a juvenile, and they only feed on very small fish because they have baby teeth, really small teeth. Otherwise, it would have penetrated his rib cage.
Right.
The other thing that he had going after he extricated himself, because he was bleeding profusely, was a number of people came to his aid, and someone got a paddleboard.
I saw that, yes. We have images of that, yes.
And they brought him ashore. Our paramedics, someone also called, so our paramedics were there. And he is very lucky.
It's remarkable that Mr. Robles had the presence of mind to try to open the shark's mouth. I mean, I don't know if I would have the presence of mind to do that. I could see myself kicking or punching, but to think that he was sitting there literally trying to open the shark's mouth was, really inspired, if you ask me.
Yes, and again, because it was a small shark, we've had situations where somebody was fishing for a shark. They got a photo of it, then they went to remove their hook and did that and lost fingers and hands. So that probably was 50-50. Maybe he should have smacked it.
Right.
Whatever he did, it worked.
Now, at this stage, the fisherman may or may not be subject to some type of ramification for his actions. Is that right?
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
The Department of Fish and Wildlife did an investigation, and they're not an investigative agency. And they said that it was unclear whether or not they could prosecute. At our most recent city council, we directed our police chief to direct the police department to do an investigation, and now they're doing a detailed investigation, and they're going to turn whatever they find over to the district attorney.
And the wrongdoing would have been what? If there is wrongdoing, what did he do wrong, the fisherman?
Fishing for sharks. Sharks are an endangered species, and they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to be chumming in the water. What they did attracted the sharks. We've had a number of juvenile sharks in our waters. The waters are warm now.
Right.
They're cleaner than ever because of storm pollution
Sure.
regulations. And they coexist with surfers, swimmers.
They're not
bodyboarders.
interested in us.
No, they're
Right.
actually curious, and they say, as long as you don't agitate a shark,
Right.
you're okay.
Right. So the reason why you were metaphorically thrown into the deep end is you are the individual that has been out there speaking about this. We've seen you on local news, national news, and surprisingly, at least to me, there's been a lot of controversy in the aftermath of what should Manhattan Beach do to try to prevent these types of attacks. And I know that your council has moved to at least impose a temporary ban on all fishing off the pier. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
But, okay, continue. So what happened in the wake of that?
Well, immediately we imposed a ban. It was the 4th of July weekend.
Right.
Our beaches were crowded. We didn't know what happened, let alone how to
Sure.
prevent it or protect our public. So we did an initial ban. Then later we were allowed to extend it for a period up to 60 days to find out what actually happened and how we can prevent this kind of thing from ever happening again.
Was this juvenile shark captured, or do we know?
No, they removed, or they cut the line, actually. And that's the thing.
The fishermen cut the line?
It was another party from the Roundhouse Aquarium, an individual in charge.
Because when they picked up Mr. Robles, the shark was still around to cut the line?
Yeah, he was still on the line. And,
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And this guy from the Roundhouse Aquarium routinely cuts
I
the lines.
understand.
If they were doing regular fishing, the shark would have broke the line.
Right.
So that was another reason why we would want to restrict or prevent
Sure.
that type of line.
Oh, what's interesting is you've been getting some pushback, and not pushback from fishermen per se. You're getting pushback from governmental agencies on your move to ban fishing off Manhattan Beach Pier.
Right. Initially, we received emails, we the council
Right.
members, 99.9%
Sure.
ban fishing permanently, which is rare. Usually,
Right, you get some splits.
And of course we did. We didn't necessarily react to them. And we had PETA who then came
Sure.
and also supported that. But then later we had fishermen that said, we fish to put food on the table, or we fish commercially as a livelihood. And they said you can't do that. And then later we found
But that's
that the California Constitution
right.
doesn't allow us to put a complete ban on
And
fishing.
the Coastal Commission came knocking, no?
Yes. Well, we got the waiver by declaring an emergency and a public nuisance. That's how we were able to have a temporary ban. But they're now trying to get us to lift the ban, or at some point maybe, prior to the 60 days.
Right.
We're also dealing with the Fish and Wildlife, who say that being a state beach and a state pier, they trump local authority.
God.
And so we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
So what are you looking to do? I mean, has the council come to consensus on its desire to ban fishing completely, or are you still kind of in that conversation phase?
Well, now we realize we don't have the authority, although some residents are saying that we should enact a constitutional amendment to change the California Constitution.
That would be a resolution or an initiative or a referendum, whatever it may be.
Exactly, and that's probably not likely. What we're thinking about doing is to ban the type of equipment that's only used for shark fishing. The
Can you do
hooks,
that?
The lines. We think we can. We're getting a little pushback from the Fish and Wildlife. That might be a situation where if they say no, we might litigate, just like we did the plastic bag ban,
right.
and we prevailed at the Supreme
What about,
Court.
is there any ability to declare the zone protected in some way? And as a result, if you declare the zone protected, you can limit fishing. Do we know anything about those laws?
That's a great point, Brad. We found out just recently that the city of Laguna Beach actually bans fishing along their shoreline, and they do it through the Marine Life Protection Act, which was enacted in 1999.
Right.
And you create a marine protection zone, and but it's only for endangered species.
Sharks.
Which sharks
So
are
we'll have
in
to
there.
see. Will you come back and let us know what happens?
I will.
His name is Wayne Powell. He is Mayor Pro Tem of Manhattan Beach, Vice Chair of the LA County Beach Commission. I'm Brad Pomerance, California Edition.